Young superstar Eric Hosmer and the Kansas City Royals trying to make it 2 wins in a row this weekend over the recently recalled Pete Kozma and the St. Louis Cardinals. Downtown St. Louis, Royals and Cardinals in game number 2. And along with Rick Gordon, I'm Dan McLaughlin. The Cardinals have dropped 7 straight, and tonight they turn to Jake Westbrook.
Yeah, really the best remedy for a losing streak is having a starter go deep into a game, and that's exactly what Jake Westbrook did against the Royals in May. 105 pitches, 8 innings, 0 runs, and he had the ground ball working. Let's hope he has that working here tonight.
We'll meet the starter for the Kansas City Royals when we come back. Baseball coming up tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. Here at Busch Stadium between Kansas City and St. Louis. Let's meet their right-handed starter, Ben Mazzaro.
The Royals got Mazzaro from the Oakland A's in exchange for David DeJesus, so he really has to perform for them, and he hasn't made it work yet. He did pitch very well his last outing, beneficiary of 5 double plays where he walked 5, didn't strike out a batter, but he's really fighting for his life in this Royals rotation. He needs to have a good outing to stay.
Relief for the folks in Joplin continues here today and again tomorrow. We'll talk about that when we come back. The hats with the J in recognition of those in Joplin. And we continue to raise money for them this weekend. Last night, radio and TV in conjunction with the Cardinals raised over $100,000 for those affected by the tornado. Support Joplin Relief by contributing to the Cardinals Care Fund. Monetary donations of any amount can be made online at cardinals.com/Joplin or over the phone at 345-9000. Crow, a University of Missouri product, graduated in 2008, now a member of the Kansas City Royals. What about major leaguers from the state of Missouri? Here's Pat Paris.
Ryan Howard, the Lafayette High School graduate, won the NL's MVP in 2006 and is the fastest player to reach the 200 home run mark. Howard is a three-time All-Star who helped the Phillies win the World Series in 2008. Kyle McClellan. McClellan, a native of Florissant, was the third Hazelwood West High School graduate to make the major leagues. Morgan Burkhart had a cup of coffee with the Royals about a decade ago, and Al Nipper was a pitcher with the Red Sox in the early 80s. Logan Morrison. The Marlins outfielder was born in Kansas City and grew up idolizing Royals third baseman George Brett. Morrison moved to Louisiana when he was 16, but came back to Missouri to attend Maple Woods Community College, just like one Albert Pujols. Max Scherzer. The Parkway Central High School grad was drafted by the Cardinals in the 43rd round of the 2003 draft, but he chose to attend the University of Missouri instead. One of the top AL pitchers this year, Scherzer was born with a rare condition known as heterochromia iridium, causing his right eye to be blue while his left eye is brown. Mark Burley. Born in St. Charles, Burley played high school ball for Francis Howell North High School until he was cut his sophomore season. Drafted by the White Sox in 1998, Burley has rather quietly racked up 4 All-Star appearances, a no-hitter, a perfect game, and a World Series championship. Sean Markham. The newest Milwaukee Brewer attended the University of Missouri, but eventually transferred to Missouri State University. Sean grew up in Kansas City as a Cubs fan and named his first son after his favorite player growing up, Ryne Sandberg. Darren Oliver. Darren Oliver is currently pitching for the Texas Rangers for the 3rd time in his career. The KC native has played for 8 different teams, including the Cardinals, and was the St. Louis starter on September 7, 1998, when Big Mac hit number 61. Jake Arrieta. Arrieta hasn't captured baseball's attention yet, but he will. One of the AL's wins leaders, Arrieta was born in Farmington, Missouri, but grew up in Plano, Texas. He has a lively fastball, just like his favorite player growing up in Texas, Nolan Ryan. John Mayberry. Like his father, John Sr., John Jr. is a big dude. The Rockhurst High School graduate now plays with Philadelphia, but chose to get his degree from Stanford University before signing with a major league team. Sam LeCure. The current Reds pitcher is the 8th and youngest child in the LeCure family. He played shortstop and pitcher for Elias Inter-Parish High School in Jefferson City and is one of the bright up-and-comers with the Cincinnati Reds.
Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers. By Southwest Airlines. New Rapid Rewards. Unlimited reward seats and no blackout dates. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. #1 in quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake. Life needs flavor. Early start here on this Saturday evening. And with that, the shadows become a factor here tonight. And just a few moments ago, the Joplin varsity baseball team exchanging hats with the Cardinals. And again, you can donate money throughout our ball game tonight and again tomorrow. But they had a Joplin baseball player at every position to sign baseballs and hats as well. A look at the Kansas City lineup with Gordon, Cabrera, and Hosmer, then Francoeur, Mustakis, Trainer, Getz, Escobar, and Mazzaro. Alex Gordon is batting .281 on the year, and he looks at a strike, and we're underway. First pitch at 6:14. The beautiful night here in St. Louis. 1 ball, 1 strike on Gordon. Down the leadoff spot for Kansas City. And he's got some power. You have to watch out for that with 7 home runs. And he is driven in 39 off speed pitch that time by Jake Westbrook. It's a cool, and I say cool, 84 degrees.
Beautiful night for baseball. The Royals, a much improved team over a year ago. And I think this club's just going to get better and better with their minor league system. Especially at the corners. They have 2 guys at first and third that should be there as long as they can keep them for a long, long time. And when you talk about Kansas City, that's the big question mark. Can they keep their young talent? They take chances with some of those young players and wrap them up with contracts early. Ned Yost at the helm would like to keep some of these young players. He knows how good they are. He has a lot of experience. Came from the Brewers, and now he's getting an opportunity with the Royals. And he may be, he's kind of a fiery guy, kind of an old school manager in some ways, and maybe just the right fit for these young Royals players that are trying to learn how to play at the big league level. And Dan, ability is one thing, but you've got to learn how to carry yourself like a big leaguer over a 6 or 7 month period.
We take for granted, you know, the veterans that have done it time and again, but it's not easy. And some fans will say, come on now, Dan, you're in the major leagues, but it's not easy for some of these guys. Let's just say some of the guys that come over from the Dominican that play, learning the language, the culture, the travel, the pressure on TV every night, all those things that come into play.
I was really struck when the Giants were in town and they had an interpreter, actually an English teacher, teaching the Latin players the language, even at this level.
Strikeout of Gordon to start the night. And a look at the defense presented by Dobbs. Holiday, Rasmus, Berkman in the outfield. Descalso, Terrio, Schumacher, and Pujols along the infield. And the battery, Westbrook and Molina. That's presented by Dobbs. A scouting report on tonight's starter.
Very simply, a sinker ball pitcher. He likes to work quickly, and he can also lose it quickly. We've seen that in a couple of starts with Westbrook where he's kind of mowing the other team down. So if you're the opposition, Dan, you've got to just hang tough, look for a pitch up in the zone, and look for him to get flat with his sinker.
Melky Cabrera had his 3rd consecutive 2-hit game last night. It's a 10-day road trip that they're on right now, and he's hitting .364 on the trip. 26 multi-hit games for Cabrera. There are some teams that believe that he could be had, and maybe a couple other veterans with this Kansas City Royals team at the trade deadline. 2-2. But there again is a fine line for Kansas City, keeping veterans with young players.
Yeah, you'd like to win as many as you can. I'm sure they'd like to play 500 this year. They're not going to say that. I mean, no team wants to come out and say we're trying to be average this year. But if you are the Royals and you throw the Pirates into that same boat, if they play 500, they should be pretty excited about that.
Westbrook steps and throws and makes the play. Eric Hosmer will be the hitter.
Actually, Dan, had our general manager, when I was traded from the Cardinals to the White Sox, had our general manager had a team meeting in spring training, and he said last year we finished 15 games under 500, and I think if we work hard, nobody gets hurt, everything goes right, we can play 500. And when I heard that, having been in a Cardinal clubhouse for so many years, I mean, it was just deflating. I mean, I couldn't believe that our goal was to go out and try to be average. And that's the difference when you've got a perennial winning club like the Cardinals, Yankees, Red Sox. They expect to be in it.
Hosmer breaks his bat, ground ball to second. Schumacher makes the play. Cardinals coming up, and they're half of the first, and a good start by Jake. There's no score. Here to stay, the American and National League going head to head. Kansas City and St. Louis tonight here from Busch Stadium. A look at the Cardinals lineup presented by Southwest Airlines. Terrio, Rasmus, Pujols, then Holiday, Berkman, and Molina, Descalso, Westbrook, and Schumacher. Hats being worn by both teams to start the game with the J. And those hats were exchanged, and we get a scouting report on the right-hander.
Former Oakland A is a ground ball pitcher. Relies on a sinker and slider. Not much of a changeup. Will use his sinker more than any pitch. And he's really on the bubble in this rotation. Sixth starter on this team right now. They've got guys coming off the disabled list. He did not make the team out of spring training, and they wanted to bring him back up to be the fifth starter, but he had a bad start at AAA and got buried there. So he's really just fighting for his life as a big leaguer right now.
Ryan Terrio sat out his second straight game yesterday, getting the start tonight. We should mention the Cardinals have made a couple of moves, and some of the stirrups will be shown tonight, trying to break that string of losses at 7. Holiday has done this, Terrio and Schumacher. Cardinals recalled Pete Kozma from Memphis, also Michael Clado from Springfield. And they optioned Tyler Green and Mark Hamilton back to AAA. Terrio picks up a base hit. He'll dig for 2. It's a leadoff double for Ryan Terrio. Defense for Kansas City presented by Dobbs. Gordon, Cabrera, Francoeur in the outfield. Moustakas, Escobar, Getz, and Hosmer along the infield. Mazzaro and Trainer. The battery tonight presented by Dobbs. A little mental break for Ryan Terrio. Let's hope that pays off.
Every player needs it a couple of times during the season, and so far it looks like it may have paid dividends for Terrio. He has been so good at getting on base. Top of this Cardinal lineup. His defense has been shaky at times. He really had a rough series in Washington, and Tony felt like he needed a break, and I would say probably pretty good timing.
Runner at second base, and here is Colby Rasmus. And Colby fouls it back. And Rasmus was used as a pinch hitter last night, Rick.
Yeah, and Dan, here's another guy that needs a mental break every once in a while. And you know, center field and shortstop are pretty demanding positions. And if you're an everyday player, that and being a catcher probably as hard as anything. And I think Rasmus, with his 0 for 12, needed a little bit of a break. Good to have him back in the lineup in that 2 spot.
0-1 pitch, out of play. We are expecting a huge crowd here tonight, well over 40,000. They have the pennant giveaway. And tomorrow, another big crowd expected as well. Kids can run the bases after the game. The 0-2 pitch to Colby Rasmus. Instead of check on Terrio at second base.
I think for a lot of baseball fans, Dan, you know, hockey season's over. The NBA has had its final game, and I think everybody's saying, okay, it's time to check out the boys of summer. I've been following it, but now I'm going to dig a little deeper into that, and I expect that the crowds will continue to grow throughout baseball.
I agree with you. You know, you had some exciting finishes in the NBA. A lot of the casual sports fans so curious to watch LeBron and the Big Three, and saw the ratings for NBC for the hockey Stanley Cup. Very good. See an American team like Boston, an original 6 team, make it to the Stanley Cup Finals and win it. 0-2 pitch to Colby. Ball scoots away. It's right, perfect by Terrio, and he advances over to third.
Cardinals get a break here as the ball scoots away. Pretty good form by the catcher Trainer, but it just scoots off to the left, and Cardinal base runners are taught anytime you see the ball in the dirt, think about it at least. Get that good jump, and if it scoots away far enough, be aggressive.
Wild pitch. Charge to the right-hander. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Erasmus. You notice, too, that Tony La Russa moves up Colby to the 2nd spot in the lineup. And we talk about this a lot, but when guys are struggling, there might not be a better place in baseball than hitting in front of Pujols, Holiday, Berkman.
And the reason is you're going to get fastballs. They're not going to want to walk you under any circumstances.
2-2.
And that should make you a better hitter. You can be more selective. You know eventually you're going to get a pitch to hit. You just have to pick out the right one. Very important situational hitting is what you do with runners on third base with less than 2 outs. Do you get them in or not?
2-2, hit the other way, and it's well hit. Out to the left fielder, Gordon, plenty deep to tag up for Theriot at third, and that makes it 1-0 St. Louis. Last time that Theriot led off the game with a double, if you're wondering, was June 9th at Houston. That's the last time the Cardinals won. Toyota keys to the game, and looking at now the season series between these two teams. Cardinals took 2 of 3 in Kansas City. Royals won last night, and here is Pujols. The Cardinals have played 31 games at home this year. 16 of those with Pujols, Holiday, Berkman in the lineup together. And Albert skies one on the infield. Shortstop Escobar makes the catch. What's interesting about that, Rick, is that with the big 3 in the starting lineup, they're 8-8. When one of the 3 did not start, they're 10-5.
Yeah, that's hard to understand, and over the long haul it's not going to be that way. Here's Holiday with his rally socks. Old school Cardinal show the stripes. I think long term you want all the big 3 in the lineup every day you can have them. And also the good news that, and I don't know that you'd say the big 4, but David Freese being close to returning is also good news.
Swing and a miss by Holiday. David Freese was taking batting practice and soon will head out on a rehab assignment. Much sooner than many thought. The RBI by Rasmus is 28th this year. 0-1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Holiday was hit by a pitch in the forearm last night. 2 of the Cardinals were hit by their starter.
We were glad that it hit his forearm, not his hand, not his wrist. We have had enough injuries here in St. Louis.
2-2. Holiday was on the disabled list this time with that quad injury that really affected him in that series in Kansas City. He was pulled there after hitting just a monstrous home run. And the Cardinals, I'm sure, would have liked to have done it differently and put him on the DL right away. They did not do it. They took a chance, didn't quite pay off. Instead of being out for 15 days, 25 to 30.
Yeah, and we've talked out a little easier to figure that out in hindsight than it is at the time, although there were certainly a lot of voices that said the same thing at that time, Dan. But I think for the Cardinals, they just wanted him back in the lineup healthy as soon as they could get him there.
Ground ball to third. Moustakas makes the play. Ryan Theriot, the leadoff double, comes around to score. 1-0 after an inning of play. Tomorrow night, it's Wine and Whiskers and Baseball, a special fundraiser featuring wine and food tastings. It's tomorrow night from 5 until 8 at the Chase Park Plaza, and it benefits the Tony La Russa Animal Rescue Foundation. Like to find out more, go to arf.net. It's Tony tomorrow at 5 for his fundraiser. Top of the second rolls in Jeff Rancour, Moustakas and Trainer. 1-0 St. Louis and an RBI by Colby Rasmus. And a ground ball hit to short. Diving stop by Theriot. 2-1. Oh, what a play! What a play by the shortstop, Brian Theriot. It's as good as we've seen from Cardinals shortstop Brian Theriot.
And you know he's pumped about this play. He had some problems defensively in the last series. Maybe that mental day or two off was exactly what he needed. There's our Plaza Tire Foxmo look at the spinning acrobatic move of Ryan Theriot.
Jake Westbrook will keep you on your toes too. Works quickly. He might be the fastest guy in the major leagues.
No doubt.
And in doing so, he keeps infielders on their toes and all kinds of ground balls too.
So he actually bounces up, actually spins counterclockwise, and still is able to get enough on that throw. That's hard to do. You'll see infielders, really anybody who's going to throw a baseball, you try to get to the point where you're moving along with the direction that you throw. If you are spinning to your right and then have to throw left-handed, it just doesn't work very well. You can't get power behind it. Almost as if you're spinning against the throw instead of with it.
Strikeout, and that is number 2 tonight for Jake Westbrook. And blocked by Molina, who had the night off last night.
Off-speed pitch, changeup, down and in. Classic Dave Duncan type pitcher. Pitch to contact. Got a strikeout there, but more often he is interested in sinker at the knees and a ground ball.
Certainly feel for Chris Carpenter last night, 120 plus. Deepest he's gone in a game since 2001. And yet comes up a little bit short, but you have to figure that if plays are made behind him on a couple of different instances, he's a winner last night. Theriot to his left, and no play here. Trainer reaches with a base hit.
Ryan Theriot may be trying to make a point here tonight. Another outstanding dive. Tried to make the quick throw, and hand was a little bit quicker than the brain was there, but I'm not sure he's going to get Trainer anyway. Outstanding effort.
So 2 down, and here is Getz, speedster, and because of that, Descalso has to play in over at third. Pujols is holding at first. Even Getz talked about it after the game last night. He said, you know, Chris Carpenter, he said, we all see the numbers and we've seen him on tape. And he says, I mean to tell you, this guy is still nasty. He said, we really didn't hit the ball that hard.
The opposing hitters know it, and Chris Carpenter knows it. I mean, he would evaluate himself and say that he believes his stuff is good. And not just good, very good. And he's not saying that arrogantly. He's just saying that correctly, I would say. And so that's really not the issue. It's just maybe making some bad pitches at the wrong time, and you add in the defensive issues behind him. There have been games where the Cardinals haven't scored enough runs for him. And he didn't help himself last night. He had a chance to get a bunt down with runners at first and second. Popped into a double play, and that was really a key point in that game last night.
Sure was. The 2-1 pitch. And a foul ball off the foot of Getz, 2-2.
Throw 120 pitches in a game, Dan, and you make 4 or 5 mistakes, you'll be all right. If you make, 6 to 10 or more, a dozen mistakes in a game, you're probably going to lose.
There were singles. Wasn't like he was getting extra base hits hit against him or home run after home run. But again, he comes up a little bit short. 2-2 the count with 2 outs and a runner at first base. 1-0 St. Louis here on the top of the second. And that slices the other way for a base hit. Back-to-back hits. Brings in Escobar.
Very simple, approach, forget, just put the bat on the ball. Very simple. Put the bat on the ball. It'll just jump off if you hit it squarely, and that's exactly what happened. And he's a guy that runs so well, Dan. He just needs to hit the ball on the line or on the ground 99% of the time.
Family reunion tonight here at the ballpark. The Connor family reunion, enjoying a little interleague play. Glad that they're here between Kansas City and St. Louis. Runners at first and second. Escobar is hitting .246 on the year. They almost got him. Gets the runner at first, and we've seen that time and again. Matter of fact, those two hooked up in Kansas City. Similar play like this.
Close play. Albert thinks he might be out, but he is safe. Interestingly enough, Ryan Theriot was also sneaking in behind the runner at second base, so a lot of movement on the Cardinals infield on that last pitch.
Alcides Escobar, you see the numbers on this road trip, acquired by Kansas City along with Lorenzo Cain, and that was part of the Zach Greinke deal. And we've seen Cain be quite the athletic center fielder too. But for a number of years he was named the top defensive player in the Brewers minor league system by Baseball America, and we see why.
And here's what he's doing better of late. He's making the routine plays as well as making the great plays. He's known to be very athletic, makes the kind of the spectacular plays, but will boot some easy ones. But that seems to have gone away with him. Seems to be a lot more sure-handed. And really, you need your shortstop to be both. You don't want just the spectacular plays. He better turn to double play when the opportunity happens. We've seen what happens this year when you can't get it turned.
Only 24 out of Venezuela. Runners off with this pitch on the 3-2. It's hammered out to left center field. This is trouble. One run is in. Here comes another. Kansas City has their first lead tonight. It's 2-1. Escobar flying around the bases, on his way to third with a triple. And did we mention he can run a little bit too?
I see that. Whew. You don't really think of this as a triple ballpark. Normal dimensions. Cardinal outfielders play deep. But the speed of Escobar, he got something he can handle. Off-speed pitch in the middle of the plate. Waited back, kept his hands back, drove it, and then let the speed take over.
I'm sure one of the frustrating parts of seeing that happen on a 3-2 pitch, or an interleague play, and you've got the pitcher on deck and a base is open. Don't give in to the hitter. Mazzaro is the pitcher at the plate, 0-2.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's exactly what was going on there. And in a sense, you'd say throwing a 3-2 breaking ball, he wasn't giving in. But you still have to throw it to the right spot. It wasn't like it was a get-me-over fastball. And, you know, he was trying to fool the hitter into thinking, okay, it's a fastball count here.
1-2 pitch to Mazzaro. A strikeout on the outside corner. Alcides Escobar with a triple and 2 RBIs. Kansas City on top. It's 2-1. Brought to you by the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill and Lumiere Casino. It's now open, a sports bar for everyone. And for all the reasons you invest mutual funds from Goldman Sachs. Escobar with the triple to make it 2-1 as that scored 2. Reaction of Jake Westbrook.
Yeah, very frustrating for Westbrook. He's normally very mild-mannered on the mound, does not have much to say, but his glove hurt a mouthful right there.
Interestingly enough, and this is why baseball is such a funny game, despite his incredible speed, first triple of the year for Escobar, and even Yadier Molina has a triple. Baseball is a funny game, isn't it? Here's Lance Berkman now with 51 RBIs, 1 for 3 last night. Bases clearing double. Molina on deck, and then we'll see Daniel Descalso. Shift is on here for Berkman, slightly on the infield with Escobar very close to the bag at second.
You mentioned the shadow issues. We certainly have a lot of areas with sun and shadows now as game goes to the bottom of the second inning. You'd think that that would be a bigger problem for the Royals than it is the Cardinals. Cardinals a little more used to it than they are.
And he beats the shift. Baseball's a funny game, isn't it?
You mean like funny weird or funny ha-ha? A little bit both. A little bit of both.
A little Joe Pesci there and Goodfellas. Is that where you're going with this?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
How do I amuse you? What's so funny?
It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. Here's Yadier Molina, 2-1 Kansas City. Molina is batting .302 and 5 for 11 so far this year against the Kansas City Royals. All that damage done, though, at Kauffman Stadium. Where the All-Star game is coming. All-Star game is headed to Kansas City after this year. It'll be Phoenix this season. Eyes of the baseball world on Kansas City. Great national exposure and well deserved after what they've done with the renovations to Kauffman Stadium. $250 million they put into that ballpark.
I think it's always been a great venue. Always love going to Kansas City.
Too.
There's something about it. Even the setting of it. You know, there's a kind of just the great big area, and got of course where the Chiefs play. Arrowhead's right next door. But I mean, it just really is a perfect, I think, venue for a sports fan, and they do a great job inside the stadium with sight lines. Really, everything about it I like.
Ground ball, base hit for Molina. Berkman is second, on his way to third. Molina thought about going to second. Now he will with that throw going into third base. And it's second and third, nobody out. Yadier Molina safe at second, safe and secure New York Life, and also Lance Berkman safe at second and safe at third as well, New York Life. So that throw going into third base, allowing Molina to advance to second.
And just what you said, he was going hard, thinking if that throw goes to third, I'm taking off. And it was just alert base running by Molina. Close play at third, but the Cardinals get the extra base from Molina because he was paying attention.
Descalso with a fly ball out to left. Berkman will test Gordon. Gordon makes the catch. Throw back into the infield. It's cut off, and now Molina is in a rundown between second and third. Run to score to tie it up. It's 2-2.
Well, I'm going to praise the base running on one hand, and then I'm going to call Yachty to task there. That is not smart base running by Molina, getting caught up. There's no way they're going to have a play at the plate on Berkman, so you don't have to try to draw the throw. It's a late in the game and you need this one run, and that's what it's all about. Then maybe you try to draw the throw, but the cutoff man is right there, and the left fielder Gordon hit him, and so you're really just taking yourself out of a runner in scoring position by trying to go to third.
Tony La Russa using the pitcher, batting 8th tonight. Schumacher batting 9th.
Working for the Washington Nationals. They're hot.
Ned Yost did that with Milwaukee.
He did.
Here's a grounder to third. It's a foul ball.
Nationals are the hardest team in baseball, Dan. They've won 7 straight now, and they're just 2 games under 500.
You would have to think that going back when this first started with the Cardinals and batting the pitcher 8th, I think Ned Yost was the first opposing manager to do that and pick up on it.
Well, not only did he do it, he might have been the first guy to actually understand it. And, you know, for all the times that Tony tried to explain his reasoning behind it, you know, I felt like I was back in my Physics 301 class. I mean, I'm hearing you, but just a little bit past me, I'm not getting it. And I think Ned Yost was the first one that said, I understand it, and I'm going to try it.
RBI for Descalso, ties it up 2-2. Jim Hayes coming up. This July, it's baseball's biggest stars. They'll gather together in Arizona. A spectacular night. It's the All-Star Game. Live from Phoenix at 7, only on Fox. Tuesday, July 12th. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, and Jim Hayes has joined us. 2-2 game, 3 hits aside as we move to the top of the third, and a gorgeous night here in the Gateway City. If you're just joining us, we did have some news concerning 2 guys coming up, Jim, and 2 players going down.
Tyler Green, Mark Hamilton both sent out to Memphis. Pete Kozma called up from AAA. Michael Clayto called up from AA. Tony says that Hamilton, who had been in an 0 for 18, just needed at-bats. Tyler Green's batting average had dipped below 200. He needed at-bats, and he says for young guys like Clayto and Kozma, who are going to be making their second stint with the Cardinals, he said a taste of the big leagues is good for young guys. He said now if they have to stay with a team and they're here for the duration, that's probably not a good sign for the Cardinals.
And Rick, I talked to John Booch today, the Cardinals farm director, and I said, what did Michael Clayto learn from the experience? And remember, he was roughed up in that ball game against San Francisco, and he was just throwing as hard as he could. Freddie Sanchez turned a 99-mile-an-hour pitch, and there's a look at John Booch. Turned that thing around into a home run. And he said it was great because he learned that to make it at this level, you just can't rear back and fire it. And he said when he went back down to the minor leagues, he said the best part about it was that he told everybody else,
oh, that's great,
we need to work on our secondary pitches if we're going to get back up there. So
you got a guy throwing 99 telling you that's going to have the effect on the guy throwing 92, I can tell you. And John Booch, by the way, just a great baseball man. There's a look at Michael Clayto on the right, along with Fernando Salas, who had a rough outing his last turn. But You like the fact that they're learning. And, you know, it's funny. It's not that people haven't told them that before, but now they've experienced it. Now they're coming back and they're saying, yes, you know what? It is true. You can't throw 99 and win.
And you remember his second inning of work? Started out with change-ups, slider, was able to locate that a little bit better, and then it offset the fastball.
I remember his second inning of work because I was scared to death for him. Because his first inning was so bad. Tony La Russa just left him in. He really needed him to get some more innings in that particular game. The Cardinals bullpen was thin. And I felt bad for the guy, but he finally did kind of figure it out.
I feel bad for those two guys right now because there's no shade. I mean, they're right in the sun. And there's no shade out there in that bullpen.
Doesn't seem like there's anywhere to hide out there.
No, they're the only two out there, too. The two young guys.
Veterans know where the shade is.
It's not there.
And it's not there.
Here's an 0-1 pitch.
Lee Smith used to know where the shade was.
Well, he'd be sleeping right now.
That's exactly right.
Trainer's room?
No, he'd be sleeping on the back of a flatbed truck underneath the tunnel on the way out to the Old Bush Stadium.
The Royals really nowhere to go, but why would you go anywhere on a gorgeous night in the shade? The closer Sori out there by the third inning. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Probably a tough conversation for Tony to tell Tyler Green they're going back down, but Tyler said, yeah, it was tough for me to get going. I wasn't getting a lot of at-bats. I understand. And his plan, he said, is to go down, get hot, and get back.
Normally an everyday player in the minor leagues, trying to make it up here. Slicing out to left. Holiday gets in a position to throw back in the infield as he makes the catch.
Well, my take on Tyler Green is athletic as he is, and as much as I love the guy, I mean, I think Tyler Green's a great teammate. He's a great guy to have around. I like him. But in my mind, he's running out of chances. He's a guy that was a high draft choice, a can't miss guy that has tools and just can't seem to put it together. And he's not 22. He's not 23. He's getting close to 30. And so how many more chances are you going to get if you're Tyler Green?
Very frustrating night last night as we see Hosmer look at a strike on a potential double play ball. Remember, to get the runner at second, you see where he ranks since May 31st. He's swinging a hot bat. And Green, instead of staying on the bag and going to first, went to the plate. Everybody was safe, and that wound up being a very big play in the game last night. Reaching for it, Molina pounces on it. Hosmer is out at first base, and Gordon advancing to second. There was also an inning last night which the Cardinals batted around, and Green made 2 of the 3 outs.
And they weren't very good at bats either.
So Tyler Green is down, Cosma up, Clayto up, Hamilton down. Here is Jeff Francoeur, the right fielder, who was robbed by Terrio his first time up. So Pete Cosma, remember his first at bat in the big leagues. RBI double. Didn't get a chance to play all that much. But you never know, this might be his role in the big leagues before it's all said and done. Guy that can bounce around a little bit. 2 balls and no strikes on Jeff Francoeur. Cardinals, though, are getting a little bit healthier, especially when you think about David Freese and Nick Punto. Freese took batting practice earlier today, and both David and Nick Punto ready to head out on some rehab assignments.
David Freese will go out on a rehab assignment on Tuesday. Nick Punto will go out on Monday. He'll go to Springfield AA, and he'll DH in the beginning, and then he'll ramp in the defense because they're concerned about him throwing the ball defensively. He says there's no problem, there's no pain, but it's precautionary, so they'll ease him into that.
He's the kind of guy that I think if you put a glove on him in December, he'd go out and turn 2 and pick it with the best of them. It's just timing for hitting, probably.
Yeah, and he seems to be the kind of guy you put any glove on him and he could do it anywhere. I mean, he's a guy who could be a utility player, a full utility player. Put him in the outfield, he'd figure it out. I mean, he's just kind of got a sense about the game. We've heard that about him. And then with the injury, we hadn't seen him very much, but you could tell right away he carries himself like a big leaguer. He's comfortable defensively, and it's just a shame that he's had the arm issues he's had.
3-2, the count on Jeff Rancourt. Runner at second is Gordon. 2-2 game here in the top of the third. Time is called.
Freeze can't wait to get back. He said the worst part is boredom. And he said he loves watching the Cardinal games when they're away. He said when they're losing, he can't watch. It's hard for him, so he has to turn the channel.
3-2 pitch. Broken bat, hit to the right side. Schumacher is there from the outfield grass, and he makes the play. Skip Schumacher leads it off when we come back. Here, you just take it out, Rick. Okay.
Two is our score. Bottom of the third inning from St. Louis. It's been a game of shortstops. Ryan Theriot leads the game off for the Cardinals with a double down the right field line. He scores the Redbirds' first run. Then he slaps some leather. Great play in the hole. Alcides Escobar, a two-run triple off of Jake Westbrook, accounted for 2 runs for the Royals. Shortstops both shining.
And here's your second baseman, Skip Schumacher, looks at a strike. 9th place hitter in this lineup for Tony La Russa. Then we'll see Theriot and Rasmus. 2-2 game. Cardinals half of the third. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes.
In addition to the stirrup showing, Skip also has a little fade on the side of his head. Different hairstyle as they attempt to get out of this skid. I asked him about it. He said desperate times call for desperate measures.
And an 0-2 pitch. A base hit into center field.
They didn't wear turtlenecks to the ballpark, did they?
I think this is the lower body version.
I got you.
We have seen the shaved heads. That was at the end of last year. That didn't work. Maybe this will work.
The turtlenecks provided some nice relief.
Comic relief.
But they started playing better baseball.
Yeah. So here's Theriot. Ricky just told you about the night he's had already. Showing bunt, hits it in the air, and foul.
Theriot would be a good hit and run man to me because he is a guy that rarely swings and misses. He doesn't strike out a lot and understands the strike zone pretty well. And I think if you give him the chore of hitting the ball on the ground, he's going to get that accomplished.
Cardinals saw Carpenter go deep in game number 1, hoping to see that with Westbrook tonight. And then we'll see the lefty Jaime Garcia tomorrow afternoon against Danny Duffy. Garcia's 6-2, but Jim, when you really break down his year at home, he is nothing short of spectacular.
The numbers are striking. At home, 4-0, ERA of 0.46. On the road, 2-2 with a 5.36 ERA. I asked Jaime about it, if he could put his finger on what the difference was. And he said he loves playing here. He loves pitching here. Certainly, he enjoys sleeping in his own bed, and there's a comfort level. But he says he feels equally as comfortable pitching on the road, and he can't figure it out at all. It's just one of those things.
Just saw that hit and run there by the Cardinals. Well, he's had a complete game here at this ballpark. His first outing of the season against San Diego. That was on a Sunday afternoon. We'd love to see that again tomorrow. 1-2 pitch in the air to right center field. Cabrera is on the move. The ball is carrying here tonight. And back to first goes Skip Schumacher. And speaking of the splits, home and road, how about this? Home games, Mazzaro, ERA close to 25. On the road, 1-0, 1.64.
A little bit of a smaller sample, though, when you're talking about Jaime Garcia. You're talking about a little bit deeper into a season. Although, you know, at the end of the season, you look at those numbers and maybe they even out a bit more. But I'd say when Jaime Garcia is pitching at home, you remind him, hey, you know what? You're pretty good here. Just keep telling him that, and maybe he'll get stuck in his head and he'll expect to win every time out.
When you were pitching, though, when you were home and the routine was more set, was that more comfortable? It didn't really factor in.
It's hard to say. The routine is more, but there's a lot more to do at home. I mean, there's a lot more stuff going on before the game, after the game. You know, your family's there. You've got, you know, with autograph things, appearances, etc. And for some players, that can be a little more hectic and a little harder in some ways to stay focused on the game. You're going to do more interviews. You know, when I would go to San Francisco or San Diego, I'm telling you, nobody's really interested in talking to me.
I don't believe that.
I know you find that hard to believe, but that's the reality for 80% of the players. You go away and you can focus on whatever it is you want to focus on, and so there's some push pull with that.
1-1 the count. Colby Rasmus. Runner at first is Schumacher. Check on him.
Rasmus, on the other hand, not your classic hit and run guy. He will swing and miss more. And I think he's a guy that you really don't want to make it too complex in the at-bat for him by making him think about hitting the ball on the ground. Just let him hit.
Out to left. And the catch made by Gordon. They say that Gordon on left field, pretty smooth transition from what they thought would be their everyday third baseman.
Yeah, they believe they have a very good defensive outfielder. Every one of them has decent arms in the outfield, and certainly Francoeur has a power arm in right. And so defensively, the Royals are very happy with what they have.
Jim, you're to be commended for the work that you did last night and raising money. Over $100,000 raised by the Cardinals, TV and the radio side in conjunction with the organization. Very well done.
I think the congrats goes to the Cardinal fans that were thoughtful enough to get involved and help the folks in Joplin.
Great responses.
Yeah, very thoughtful interview with Adam Wainwright. You could see that clearly his visit affected him. A couple of the other guys as well.
And we should say a number of texts and tweets and comments from many of the people from the Joplin area, which we're very thankful for what the Cardinals and Royals and Fox Sports Midwest were able to do collectively. And that, you know, that's maybe a piece that's hard to really get out quickly, but certainly a lot of very positive response.
Out to deep left. Will it carry out of here? Gordon is back, and it's off the wall. Schumacher hustling. He will score. It's bobbled out in left field, and Pujols has an RBI double. 3-2 St. Louis.
So Dan, you mentioned the ball's carrying really well, and Albert, I think, thought this had enough to carry out of here as it hits halfway up the fence. The runner, Schumacher, is going to go hard and as fast as he can no matter what. Make sure he does score. For some reason, that ball just kind of hung up a bit in left center field and didn't get out of here.
It was hit too hard to elevate.
Could be. Maybe it had a little topspin on it.
Here is Holiday. 2 outs and a runner at second base. No surprise to see Pujols do that against the Royals. Lifetime average coming into play tonight, 372.
And had that gone out, he would have tied Lance Berkman for the team lead in home runs. Berkman's had that for quite some time, that distinction.
That RBI for Pujols, number 44. And Holiday, despite the fact that he's missed so much time here in the first half, he already has 33 driven in. Where would those numbers be if he wasn't hurt? And in this instance, by using a position player batting ninth to get in front of the big guys, it has paid off here in the third inning. That's the idea. Like a double leadoff man, your ninth place hitter. Potentially walk Holiday here after falling behind, and so it's Berkman, who has 51 driven in.
Wainwright was up on set with us watching the game on a monitor when Holiday got hit with that pitch. The look of fear on his face, and he looked at me, he saw it was a forearm. It's okay. It's okay. It's a forearm.
So the Nationals walked Albert Pujols in front of Lance Berkman intentionally, and now the Royals walk Matt Holliday in front of Lance Berkman. And both times a situation where Berkman's going to be hitting from the left side, his preferred side.
Popped up left side and out of play.
I guarantee you they would not have done that 3 weeks ago.
Not a chance. What a great crowd here tonight. Again, it's one of the biggest crowds of the season. Dynamic pricing. Take advantage of that tomorrow. $19 terrace level seats. Kids can run the bases after the game. The 0-1 pitch. Up and away. So this is where this lineup can be so unforgiving, with Pujols, then Holiday, and now Berkman. Outfield is deep and straight away. 1 ball, 1 strike on Lance. Off speed pitch, fouled back. Albert against the Royals, nearly a 400 hitter. Lance Berkman, not too shabby either, 375. And in just 23 games, 25 RBIs.
And that's a good sample size.
It sure is.
Escobar is almost behind the bag at second base. The 1-2 pitch. Up and into Berkman. Carpenter was frustrated when he went to the plate last night and said something to their catcher about a couple of pitches that were up to him, and this was after 2 of the Cardinals had been hit.
I think this was made a little bit worse by the fact that Berkman was looking for the ball away. You saw his first movement was to cover the outside corner, and then when the ball came in, he was a little surprised. I'm not defending the pitcher there because that is a dangerous spot up and in, but I think Berkman might have made that look worse.
Strikeout of Lance, so the intentional walk to Holiday pays off, but Pujols has given the Cardinals a 3-2 lead. This June, the Marines are taking the Gateway City by air, land, and sea, and you can come meet your Marines at Marine Week St. Louis, June 20th through the 26th. Full schedule of events, please go to marines.mil/Marine Week schedule. Ground ball right side. Pujols will take it himself, and Moustakas is retired. What have you thought of the right-hander Jake Westbrook so far?
He's been good so far. He had a little blip in the second inning after 2 were out where he gave up 3 hits in a row. Really hung a pitch to Escobar. But for the most part, keeping the ball in the infield again. He's getting a number of ground balls. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ground balls already here in the 4th inning. And I think pretty classic Jake Westbrook. What really is going to matter, Dan, is what he does in innings 4, 5, and 6. He hasn't gotten through 6 innings in his last 4 starts, and it's a key time through the order now.
2 balls and no strikes. Pitch count for Jake Westbrook at 61. 36 strikes. 1 out, nobody on. Matt Trainer, who was picked up at the end of spring training from Texas. 2-1. Had a sacrifice last night. That was in the 8th. And Moustakas, who he sacrificed over, eventually came around to score the winning run. 3-1. Popped foul and out of play. Wrap up the series with Kansas City tomorrow. Off day on Monday. And then the Phillies will be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. $20 field box level seats, a part of dynamic pricing for the Phillies series, and $9 terrace level.
Did you say 9?
$9 in the air out to left. Holiday is back. He'll look up, and we are tied. Matt Trainer goes deep. 3rd home run, his 12th RBI, and it's 3-3. Well, both hits for RBIs have come on 3-2 pitches.
This time it's a fastball. Last time it was a breaking ball. Both pitches not quality pitches from Westbrook. This one's up, doesn't sink at all. Now that pitch middle in, we talk about it a lot. That's the power pitch. That's a pitch you can drive. You see it. You don't have to like overly reach for it because it's on the outside corner. It's a comfortable pitch to get your hands to the ball. And if it's middle in, it means it's up enough that you can kind of get underneath it and elevate it a little bit. And to me, that's the pitch you have to be very careful of. That middle in pitch, about belt high, not all the way in, but just kind of inner half.
0-2 pitch. Grounded to short. Terrio. 2 away. Gets retired. Let's turn to our trivia question here tonight. 3-3 game here at Busch Stadium, and this is brought to you by AT&T, which is the only team from the 1969 expansion to win the World Series. Kansas City back in 1985.
They won in 85?
It's been talked about time and again.
I'm going to have to research that. Hold on. Let me check. 85, you said. There's something kind of familiar about that year.
They had the Expos, San Diego, and Seattle that all expanded. 1969. And none of them have won a World Series. They've been there. San Diego's been there a couple of times. 3-0.
One of the things I remember about that series, other than a couple of things I'm trying to forget, is how important that was not only to Kansas City but to a great baseball man in Dick Howser.
Yeah,
I think that to me became the central story of that World Series victory. You had great pitchers in Saberhagen, Lee Brandt, and yet Dick Howser, with his passing not long after that, just kind of gave it some perspective.
No chance for Terrio. He flips to Schumacher, and it's a base hit. No way to get to speedy Escobar. Terrio has been diving all over the place here tonight.
Ball almost handled by Westbrook. Another great play by Terrio. No chance to throw from that position. I do think he's a little rejuvenated here tonight.
Interleague play here in St. Louis and Busch Stadium. Dick Hauser, longtime gentleman that had a major impact with the baseball program at Florida State. Stadium is named after him. And the current head coach, Mike Martin, those two were very close friends. No chance for Molina as Westbrook just forgot about Escobar, and it's a stolen base. And Rick, you talked about it. Kansas City very aggressive on the base paths this year.
Yeah, they've stolen 71 bases now, and this is game 71 for them. And they have a lot of players that can steal bases, not just one guy. And, you know, you look at a club that has a Michael Bourne, let's say, and he's stealing 60 to 70% of your bases. That's not a team that can run. That's a guy that can run. And if he goes 0 for 4, that's not really a weapon for a team.
Swing and a miss by Mazzaro. Strikeout number 4 tonight for Jake Westbrook. Joplin. It's our initiative by donating $10 to Cardinals Care Joplin Recovery Fund. Text the word Joplin to 32020. Standard rates apply. And for more information, visit cardinals.com/Joplin. Teams that run, certainly you have to put Kansas City in that category.
Yeah, they again have a number of players that can do it, and that gives you team speed when you're not just relying on one or two guys. If they have offers, you're not going to really get much production out of that in the long run. But they have a well-balanced team speed, and Escobar with that stolen base, really the first in this series. And you just wonder how many times they're going to test Yadier Molina. That time it was stolen off of Jake Westbrook.
And that was with the pitcher up, so you got to figure that Escobar was doing that on his own. As he backhands it here, takes his time and fires a strike to first. So Molina is 1 for 2. We saw with Escobar, and we've talked about his speed here tonight. How about the gun that he possesses too? We saw that in game 1.
Well, he's gifted, no doubt about it. You mentioned Lorenzo Cain, the other player that's come over here. Both very gifted players, very athletic. And, you know, there's a school of thought. If you're going to build a team, get a bunch of athletes. And, you know, maybe they're not producing yet, but you just got to believe that athleticism ultimately will win out. And he certainly has the hands, he has the arm. Not necessarily a power guy, but he could be a star in this game.
2 balls and no strikes. Daniel Descalso, sacrifice fly that scored Berkman back in the 2nd inning. We're tied up. It's 3-3. Cardinals half of the 4th.
Cardinals have that nice picket fence started. That baseball expression has been around for years.
A 3-0 pitch. Tell us about that expression.
Yeah, the picket fence means you're going to get a run in inning. Doesn't that look like a picket fence there? One in the first, one in the second, one in the third. Just keep that picket fence going, and by the time the game's over, perhaps you're going to have a victory. And speaking of old sayings, that makes us both think of Jim Jackson, our great friend on the radio side, celebrating a birthday today. One of our favorite guys. Jim Jackson, and also Tom Mee in our truck, and Lou Brock. It seems like it's a lot of people's birthday today.
1 out and a runner at first.
3 Hall of Famers in my book.
Westbrook. Sacrifice is good. Westbrook now 3 straight games allowing a home run. He allowed just 3 in his first 12 games, now 3 in the last 3.
And for a sinker ball pitcher, that is just bad news. You just don't want to see him giving up fly balls, much less home runs. That goes back to the mistakes we were talking about with Chris Carpenter. You can make a few in a game. You'll get away with some of them. Hitters will get themselves out, but you can't make a dozen mistakes or you lose.
Now Skip Schumacher, 3-3 game, runner at second base. Skip single and was driven in on a 2-out double by Albert Pujols.
I got that thought from Tom Seaver. He'd been asked her in his great career, during the height of his career, and what makes him a cut above everybody else, and his answer was, in his mind, if he is a starting pitcher in a game, he's going to throw less than 5 or 6 pitches in that game that will be any more than an inch or 2 away from where he meant them to be. And that's pretty good pinpoint control, and that was his expectation. And
that's remarkable.
That's why he won.
Remarkable. Defense shallow, straight away for Schumacher. Pulls it towards first. Hosmer is there, and he'll step on the bag. The Cardinals strand a runner, and the Redbirds have stranded 3 tonight. As we head to the 5th, it's 3-3 here at Busch Stadium. Tourism, go to visitmo.com to start planning your next Missouri getaway. And you're looking at Elephant Rocks State Park in Graniteville. Park features giant granite rocks that are millions of years old and stand end to end like a train of red circus elephants. That is what the copy says. Giant granite rocks that are millions of years old and stand end to end like a train of red circus elephants.
You are not making that up.
And if you'd like to find out more about this wonderful place, just go to visitmo.com.
Not gray circus elephants, red circus elephants.
Red circus elephants. Here is Alex Gordon. Gordon, Cabrera, and Hosmer. Pitch is pulled foul, and we're underway here in the 5th inning. We saw that graphic about the 8 steals teams that run. The Cardinals, by the way, one player with 8+ stolen bases.
And he's not here.
Just sent down. That's Tyler Green. 1-2. I always hear about the sinker, Ricky, and for young players or fans at home that are trying to figure out what is it? What happens with the sinker? How does he do it?
Sinker is it's an outstanding pitch at this level because you're making the ball move in a downward way, and you do it by finger pressure. You do it by holding the side of the ball. I actually would cock my wrist a little bit to where I would be throwing, pulling down with seams and pulling almost the top of the ball to give it a downward trajectory, and really it's just a little bit of spin that you impart, and it makes the ball sink. And again, finger pressure is most of the issue, and not everybody can do it. A lot of people, the 4-seam fastball that people talk about is a lot straighter, and by 4 seams, really you're meaning you're throwing again over the horseshoe of the baseball, and it looks like 4 seams are cutting into the wind. The sinker just has 2.
Good play by Jake Westbrook. Hyundai Foxmo. Let's take a look at Jake Westbrook.
And to throw a sinker properly, you actually have to be up to throw down. You can't be flat with it. You have to be tall, and you have to throw it in a downward way. Now, Jake Westbrook sometimes makes himself a little shorter than he ought to, and you can almost see that hand going over top of the ball to create that side spin on it, which makes the ball move down and away. But when a sinker ball pitcher, to me, drops down too much and makes himself shorter, if you will, on the mound, it's that much harder to get your hand and keep your hand on top of the ball. When Jake Westbrook struggles, Dan, his sinker is too flat. And it's right around the middle of the game when you start to see it flatten out and move more side to side than down. And that's where the trouble starts.
Westbrook is 10-8 since he came to the Cardinals at the beginning of August last year. Team record 13-13 in his starts.
We used to have an expression, if you can see it sink from the mound, it's probably flat and probably not a good one, because it's much harder from the mound straight on to see the ball actually go downward, and that's really what you wanted to do. You wanted to go more down than, in this case, away from the left-hander.
Slicing to left and making the catch, Matt Holliday. Here is Hosmer with 2 outs and nobody on. Ground ball up the middle for a base hit. Sunday, June 19th, M3 Studios presents African Americans in Baseball, Past, Present, and Future. Panel of baseball historians and former players who will discuss the integration and progression of African Americans in the game. For tickets or more information, visit cardinals.com/heritage. Ground ball to Schumacher, and that sends us to the bottom of the 5th. Nooks this date in baseball history. And we have seen this right-hander before, Rick, haven't we?
Yes, we have. He was in a different uniform, though. Mazzaro was pitching with the Oakland A's. Cardinals beat the A's that day, June 18th. Matt Holliday had something to do with it. His former club, I might add, the Oakland A's, albeit short time. I think Matt Holliday's found a home here, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Long-term contract and financial security here in St. Louis.
And there's no real competition on this, Dan, so I don't want to be misunderstood on that as Terrio fouls that one off. But when Matt Holliday comes to the plate, I feel that the fans here, and I would say personally, I feel like this is an at-bat you have to pay attention to the same way when Albert comes to the plate. You know, there was a time where, okay, Albert's batting, everybody stop what you're doing and watch. I think it's the same, exactly the same with Matt Holliday. No less, no more. But, you know, that's a pretty big deal when you've got two guys that you just can't wait to see hit if you're a Cardinal fan.
1-2
was Jack Clark at one point. Then it was Mark McGwire.
I'm in agreement with you. And to me, Pujols, even though it's not been a Pujols type year, you still stop to watch.
No doubt.
What he may do next. And with Holliday, the vicious cuts that he takes, same thing. Left center, drops in for a base hit. Leadoff hit for Ryan Terrio. Gordon may have had a chance to catch that. It was off the end of the bat and didn't get a very good jump.
Sure hung up a long time, but Terrio ends up with another base hit. Just kind of flares it into left center, kind of off balance swing. Gordon not able to make the play, and Terrio doing what he's done all year, get on in front of Pujols and Holliday.
Fouled away by Colby Rasmus.
Colby's had a couple of good at-bats in this game. Sacrifice fly to left. They also hit the ball hard to left one other time. But you also have to start thinking, you know, how hard is it to keep John Jay out of the lineup on a daily basis? What he's done in that second hole. Can't play with four outfielders. They don't let you.
With Freeze out, Tony La Russa trying to get as many bats as he can into the lineup, especially when Alan Craig was going like he was. So you'd have Pujols at third, Berkman play first, and that opens up a spot in the outfield. But long term, probably not the solution.
So enticing, though, isn't it?
It really is. And that changes, though, when you get Freeze back.
It does. But for the short term, and it's not taking away from the production of Daniel Descalso. He has a sacrifice fly today, a walk, and batting around 240. But you know, you'd rather have John Jay in the lineup, I think, right now than Daniel Descalso, just purely offensively. But to do it, you'd have to do exactly what you said. Move Berkman to the infield, but Pujols at third, just to get John Jay in the lineup.
Rasmus pops it up left side. Playable. Moustakas in foul territory makes the catch. Albert Pujols, we mentioned he's near a 400 hitter in his career overall against Kansas City. And what he's done both home and road.
Yeah, great numbers both places. Actually better batting average on the road. Slugging percentage has been a lot higher in Kansas City. Albert, in some ways, you almost have to say he's a dual citizen in some ways of Kansas City and St. Louis. He has such great ties there and friends and family there. And, of course, he's also a guy that you would say is a Dominican. I mean, that's really what he is first and foremost, and that's his native land and his country and his people. And yet I think he really represents this state well because he's got the great ties to Kansas City.
Albert, opposite field. It's well hit at the track and caught. Hustling back to first, and in safely is Ryan Terrio. We would like to take a moment to acknowledge that Major League Baseball and Fox Sports lost a dear friend this week, Laura Ziskin. Laura was a prolific film producer and studio executive. She produced many great films, including Pretty Woman, As Good as It Gets, and Spider-Man. Battled breast cancer for 7 years. Co-founder of Stand Up to Cancer, an organization that Fox Sports and Major League Baseball proudly support. She will be missed. She was 61 years of age. Two outs, strike one to Matt Holliday. World Baseball Classic, thinking about where players come from. Next go around is next year, I believe. In the air, left center. That's trouble. That ball will get down. Matt Holliday may have given the Cardinals a lead again. Here comes Terrio. Here comes a throw to the plate. Got him. Perfect relay by Kansas City. Escobar with a strike to the plate. And Terrio gunned down after the double by Matt Holliday. We played 5 here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We've had some excitement so baseball tonight, brought to you by Jack in the Box. Right now, you can get the new bourbon barbecue steak grilled sandwich at participating restaurants. And by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. Ryan Terrio gunned out at the plate. That look right there kind of sums up the kind of player he is.
Yeah, he's had a busy day, hasn't he? Been on the ground a lot.
Getting dirty.
Been in the center of so many plays that are pivotal to this game. Looks like a ball player, doesn't he?
He does. A 2-0 pitch to Moustakas.
Looking at his arm as if maybe he got a little scrape or maybe some blood on his arm with the slide.
Descalso in foul territory, hustling, and won't get there, but a fan does. Reaches over and makes the play.
All smiles. This ball's got to do an awful lot to get from the warning track home. Great throw by Cabrera, then to Escobar, right on the money, and it also has to be a good tag by Trainer. So it's amazing how fast they got that ball from the left center field fence to home plate to get Terrio, who was on his horse trying to score the go-ahead run. Matt Holliday had the double, and really just great defense and a great throw by Escobar. It's kind of fun to watch in some ways.
That throw is right on the money, and we've praised him an awful lot the last couple of nights, and rightfully so. The shortstop for Kansas City. The 2-1 pitch. 2-2 the count.
Escobar looks like as if he's about 15 or 16 years old, doesn't he?
And he is only 24. He'll be 25 in December. The 2-2. Zach Greinke goes from Kansas City, where he won a Cy Young Award, to Milwaukee. The centerpiece there on the other side. Probably the two guys that you think about the most. You don't know until it all pans out, but certainly Escobar and Lorenzo Cain.
Jake Odorizzi was in that trade. Actually went to nearby Highland High School and was a first-round draft choice. Had a chance to meet Jake in high school. And his coach, Joel Hawkins, is a good friend of mine. And they really think he's got a chance of being a great player in the future. He was a shortstop and a pitcher in high school, and they have him pitching, and he's ranked in the top 35 of all minor league prospects right now. So trades have short-term benefit, and they have long-term benefit.
Pitch count over 100, and we're in the 6th inning now for Jake Westbrook.
And this is always the problem inning for Jake Westbrook. He has had troubles right around 100 pitches. The sinker gets flatter. Not predicting that to be the case again tonight, but he has to really bear down and make sure he throws the ball lower.
It's now 7 hits aside. No activity in the Cardinal bullpen.
So a sinker ball pitcher is trying to throw the ball at the knees. If you get tired with your body and your arm, the ball starts to get elevated. So you have to tell yourself, I am not going to get the ball elevated. I'm going to throw the ball shin high if I have to. And hitters will get themselves out if you let them occasionally. But you cannot make a mistake belt high or the game's going to get away from you.
And that's what happened last time up with Trainer. Hit the home run, a solo shot back in the 4th on a 3-2 pitch. He has also singled and scored, and that was in the 2nd inning. Now, if Jake is right, you're thinking ground ball, and you're thinking 2. Good pitch there.
Nice low pitch. That was a slider, but he finished it. I always think it was important as a sinker ball pitcher, the later you get into a game, your warm-ups between innings, make sure you're getting the ball down. Because if you start middle of the plate, try to work your way down, you go right through the hitting zone. Just force yourself to get the ball low in the zone.
0-1 pitch. Ground ball. This could be 2. Out at second. Double play. He needed that.
And it's the sinker down in the zone that gets the job done. That's about knee high. Produces a ground ball. Sinker ball pitcher is going to get a lot of action up the middle. You better be ready for it. And he was. Made a good throw to second. Helped himself out.
1-6-3 double play, and here is Getz. Fly ball out to left. Westbrook is through 6. Berkman, Molina, Descalso coming up. It's 3-3. And we hope you join us tomorrow for baseball. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. Duffy 1-2. Jaime Garcia is 6-2. It will come your way at 12:30. We told you about those numbers at Busch Stadium for Jaime Garcia, some of the best in baseball, and he'll be on display tomorrow. And there's a look at our strike breakdown.
Yeah, and what we're doing is we're segmenting what were called strike, foul balls, swing and misses, balls in play, and total pitches. Tonight of the strikes, this is how they play out. More swings and misses from Jake Westbrook, and most of those were on slider. But these are both pitchers that aren't going to have a lot of swings and misses. They're trying to have the ball put in play. They're both sinker ball pitchers, and you'd say they've both done a decent job.
Lance Berkman has singled and scored, and he also struck out back in the third. It's 3-3. Just missed on the outside corner.
What they've said about Mazzaro is he really is not a guy that has a good plan B. So if plan A isn't working because his sinker or his slider's off a little bit and he has to try to do something different, watch out.
In the air out to center field. Cabrera is back at the wall, leaps in, he got it. And he deeks the fans by looking up into the seats as if it got over the wall.
Having a little fun. The fans don't like it. Lance Berkman might not like it. But how about this play? Checks out the wall. Might not have gone out anyway. Right at the top of the fence. Leaps. And makes the grab. And there he goes into his act.
After Jake Westbrook, you remember that?
Pitchers remember everything.
Hyundai Foxmo. So one out, and here's Yadier Molina. It didn't seem, I don't know about you, but it didn't seem like Berkman got all of that either. Initially off the end of the bat.
Sure did carry. Strangely, Alberts hit two balls that haven't carried, and we've seen Escobar hit a ball that carried, and Berkman here to center field.
Here's a 2-1 pitch in the dirt. 3-1. Backhanded Moustakas. He's going to be a good one, Rick.
He keeps making plays like that, he will be. Made that look very smooth, too. Backhand, right down the line. Smart enough to get his feet under him before throwing off balance, and he had something to throw with.
Made a couple good plays last night, too. Here's Descalso as a sac fly RBI, and also has walked, getting a start tonight at third base. 3-3. Cardinals after the sixth. Cardinals did have a right-hander and a lefty. I believe it was Miller that was up. Tail end of last inning. No activity right now. Hosmer, nice play. The two youngsters for Kansas City showing off the leather. And it started with a veteran, Melky Cabrera, taking a hit away from Lance Berkman. Moustakas at third. Hosmer over at first. The defense of Kansas City, and it stays 3-3 as we head to the seventh. Chevy dealers celebrating 100 years honored outstanding players from the Chevrolet Youth Baseball program throughout the St. Louis area. The Perseverance Award recipients were also treated to a ride of a lifetime with 30 Camaro convertible caravans to Busch Stadium. The Chevy Camaro convertible is a brand new and now available at your local Chevy dealer. Happy birthday to Mr. Lou Brock. And in between innings, the stadium sang happy birthday to the great Lou Brock.
Where else would he be on his birthday than at the ballpark?
It's great to see.
He's awesome. And of course, I'm pretty partial to Jackie, too.
Good people. 1 ball, 1 strike on Alcides Escobar. He is always smiling, always gracious, always willing to talk, sign autographs, say hello. Westbrook has to be quick, steps, throws, makes the play. It's what you want. If you've never met a Hall of Famer, but you've seen him and heard about him and honored him.
And people are people, so we know that everybody in the Hall of Fame isn't exactly a Hall of Fame kind of guy in terms of character and personality and friendliness and all that. And some of them are just really good baseball players or managers. And so you just hope, though, that they're guys that you can just love to root for and embrace. And Lou Brock's one of those guys. I mean, he absolutely is. Of course, Stan Musial is as well. His grandson Brian was up here in the booth a couple innings ago, and he said Stan had an autograph session today, signed for 90 minutes, and had a great time, met a lot of great people. And how good is that?
Yeah.
And that autograph show had some benefits for Joplin. And he and Red Schoendienst were both out there.
There's some huge names, by the way, that are in that autograph session today and tomorrow. It's at the Sheridan in Clayton. Dick Zitzman from Stan the Man Inc. has helped put that together.
Right.
But a lot of the big-time Hall of Famers that you normally don't see in St. Louis, Robbie Alomar, Steve Carlton, some of the football guys have made their way to St. Louis, so get a chance, head on out there tomorrow. Mike Shannon last night had Bob Gibson and Bill White on his program live at Shannon's. It was awesome. Listen to those three tell stories last night. Three-two pitch to Meyer, the pinch hitter. Terrio has to hurry and out at first. That was close. Routine ground ball that turned into a close play.
Great speed by Meyer.
Jack Buck passed away 9 years ago today. Here is Alex Gordon. I don't know about you, but I'd do anything to have one more catch with my dad. You ever heard him read that?
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful poems that he wrote for Father's Day, and it was produced by Casey Van Allen, longtime employee, very talented over at KMOX Radio, and they put that together, and it is unbelievable. You'll hear it tomorrow a couple of times. The 3-1 pitch in the air out to deep right. Kansas City has the lead. It's over the bullpen, and it's 4-3. No doubt about that one. Alex Gordon with his 8th home run.
You've already mentioned, Dan, that Westbrook has given up more home runs of late. Here's another one in the 7th inning. This comes with 2 outs. Westbrook was just 1 out away of getting through 7 innings of work with 3 runs, and he unfortunately doesn't get it done. That was a long one. Alex Gordon has some tools.
Now Cabrera. Looks at a strike. Backhanded by Pujols to Westbrook on pitch number 121. Time to stretch. Kansas City back on top. Alex Gordon now with 6 home runs against the Cardinals, and that's the most for any Kansas City player or former KC player still active in baseball. By the way, Pujols with 15 himself against Kansas City. Alex Gordon has given the Royals a 1-run lead. It's 4-3, and Westbrook will be lifted for a pinch hitter. And as you mentioned, Rick, he was 1 out away from being through 7, and Kansas City will go to their bullpen. And the lefty Collins steps to the plate, or steps to the mound to face a pinch hitter stepping to the plate, and that's Brown.
He had some problems with control when he pitched against the Cardinals. 29 walks on the season against 35 strikeouts. Not a very good ratio over 35 innings of work. And really a shame for Jake Westbrook. Would have been a quality start without that home run. Would have been 3 runs in 7 innings. And now he gives way to Andrew Brown, the Cardinal rookie.
Talking with some of the Cardinal personnel that have watched the minor leagues, they said this guy has really come on the scene. And talking about Brown, initially an infielder, and you and I talked about his arm. There's John Booch again. You and I were talking about his arm, and a couple of those throws in Washington were eye-popping, and they knew his arm was strong because of his time at third, but didn't know it was that strong. And when he was called up, his numbers in the minor leagues are very, very good. So a pleasant surprise with the arm of Brown. 121 pitches tonight for Westbrook. And Brown is swinging a miss.
Collins featuring a very sharp overhand curveball that almost fools Brown to the point of releasing the bat and throwing it into the stands. That's what that good curveball will do. He's only 5'7", Dan. Collins from Worcester, Massachusetts. And he is just 21 years of age.
Worcester.
Worcester.
That's how you have to say it.
I know.
Worcester.
My father-in-law was born in Worcester. I've been to Worcester.
I would assume then that this young man is probably a Bruins fan.
I would guess.
Parade today in Boston. Schumacher hits it foul and out of play. Final line on Jake Westbrook: 7 innings, 8 hits, 3 strikeouts, allows a pair of home runs, 1 walk, We told you 121 pitches, 74 were strikes. Grounded to short. Escobar. 2 outs.
He likes showing off that arm, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. When you have a good one, you see some of the shortstops. They'll take that extra second or two, and then boom.
Tell you what, Kansas City has played phenomenal defense. This is an outstanding baseball game. The Cardinals trail by a run, but we've seen some very good plays. We've seen some excellent defense, particularly from Kansas City, though the Cardinals have made some good plays of their own. Ryan Terrio's had a couple. But we saw Kansas City cut down a runner at the plate with a perfect relay from Cabrera to Escobar to Trainer. We saw the corner infielders make outstanding plays, and Cabrera make a play up against the center field wall.
2-0. Ryan Theriot, pair of base hits. Double back in the first, and a single in the fifth. Also made one of the better defensive plays tonight.
Baseball can be such a beautiful game to watch, and I know soccer calls themselves the beautiful game, but baseball can be very artistic when played well defensively. And any parent who's ever sat in a lawn chair and watched an 8-year-old game can tell you it gets kind of ugly if people don't catch the ball.
I can tell you when parents sit at 5-year-old games.
you bet. Sound like you're having some kind of recent experience with that.
Yes.
You're just hoping for the other team's pitcher to throw a strike.
But nonetheless, I wouldn't change it for anything.
No, I understand. But you wouldn't call it pretty.
No, I wouldn't. 3-1 is hit out to center, and we have played 7. 7 innings in the books on this Saturday night here at Busch Stadium. 4-3 Kansas City. Visit Cardinals.com/Joplin. Auction ends June 26th at 8. And there's lineup cards you can bid on, bases, game used, items, baseballs, and more. And again, that's the Teams Unite for Joplin weekend here at Busch Stadium. All that memorabilia. It'll end at 8 tomorrow. Just head to Cardinals.com/Joplin. And Rick, you were telling me before the game, I remember Darryl Porter from that area. I did not know that Tito Landrum is from there.
Yeah, Tito was born in Joplin, Missouri. Tito, former Cardinal outfielder. Many fans remember how great he was in postseason. And I'm going to need to reconnect with Tito. I'm sure he has certainly had friends and is still in the Joplin area. And Tito also was involved very closely to 9/11, as he had a place where he owned a little workout facility in the basement, or in the first floor level of the World Trade Center. And he happened to be at a dentist appointment the morning of 9/11 and was not there on site, but certainly was affected by it, as many of his friends, and so might be a guy you might want to think about, Tito Landrum. And a great Cardinal, a great friend, and comes to our fantasy camps in the offseason quite a bit. And anybody who's a fan of the Cardinals teams in the 80s certainly knows who Tito Landrum is.
No balls and 2 strikes here on Eric Hosmer. 4-3 Kansas City lead. And we're in the top of the 8th. Little bit low.
And a chance for Trevor Miller to build on an outstanding performance his last time out. Pitch looked like it might have been at the knees, and it was.
Trevor Miller, by the way, the all-time appearance leader among left-handed pitchers at Busch Stadium 3 now. Ground ball to Schumacher. 1 away.
Very nice.
Raised well over $100,000 in our auction last night. How you can continue to help. Text the word Joplin to 32020 to donate $10 or donate any amount at 345-9000. And they'll be collecting tomorrow if you're heading to the ballpark to watch the Cardinals and Royals in game number 3 tomorrow afternoon at the various gates. They'll be collecting money as well. Good work here by Trevor Miller. And Jason Mott trots in from the bullpen. He'll pitch when we come back. Recap. Ben Mazzaro, 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. Westbrook was 1 out away from keeping this a 3-3 game, but it was Alex Gordon with the go-ahead home run back in the 7th moments ago. So the Cardinals turn it over to the hard-throwing right-hander Jason Mott.
And he is certainly a hard thrower. His control has been very decent this year. And for the most part, you'd have to say he's been effective. I think he's kind of found his home in the 7th, 8th inning of ball games, and still working on the secondary pitch, which he's saying just call it that, secondary pitch. I asked him if is it a slider or a cutter, and he goes, I don't know, it's just a little bit of both. And I'd say maybe more cutter than slider, and it really doesn't matter. And that when we use those terms, they're so almost interchangeable, and one man's cutter is another man's slider.
The difference between the two?
Well, the slider's going to go down more. The cutter's going to be flatter. It's just going to go, in this case, with Mott working to a right-hander, it's going to go away from it. It's going to start out kind of middle of the plate and just move almost on a flat plane away from it, slide away from it.
Ooh, good pitch. Taken low, and I guess a little bit outside by Francoeur. It's 2-1. Two-out base hit RBIs. You know, when you're going bad and the Cardinals in the midst of a 7-game losing streak, and then you add in the fact that you're giving up some of these runs with 2 outs, hurts even more.
Well, the Cardinals won't know what that feels like when they've been on the positive side of it, because they've been doing that all year long, and the Royals have done it here tonight. 2 quick outs in the second inning, and then a base hit, and a triple for Escobar made it 2-0, and then the 2-out home run by Gordon in the 7th inning. And you know, those, I don't know, I'd say they sting a little more perhaps because you haven't been able to finish off the inning.
Ground ball to Albert Pujols. He'll flip to Mott. Former catcher puts it away. 2 outs. Want to make sure and take time to remind you that the Phillies will be in town Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Field box level seats for $20. Terrace level $9. And then there's all kinds of giveaways with the Blue Jays in promotional nights starting on Friday. Friday night is a fireworks night, and there is dynamically priced tickets there. How about this on Sunday, next Sunday, for $10? Get a ticket, free hot dog and Coke, and also a duffel bag for your kids. So good promotions and giveaways the entire homestand. Hope you take advantage of that, and that continues tomorrow here at the ballpark. Mott, in 5 innings in his career against Kansas City, has never allowed a hit to the Kansas City Royals. Two balls and no strikes. Moustakas the hitter.
So here's the case, Dan, where you've got a good start to an inning going. You're only down by 1. It's late. Finish the inning.
Cardinals are due to win one, and they're due to win one late too.
Nice crowd here tonight. Would love it, wouldn't they?
Oh man. Cardinals will have the big bats coming up with Colby Rasmus, Albert Pujols, and Matt Holliday. We talked about it. The back end of this bullpen, Crow and Soria, very good. 8th and 9th. Base hit out to left.
Two hits now for Moustakas, and there's a guy that's been really tough here tonight. Matt Trainer singled and homered. Base hit the other way.
Two outs and a runner at first.
You realize how little time you have to react on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball? I mean, it's less than a half a second by the time it is out of the hand of Jason Mott and into the glove of Yadier Molina. You have less than a half a second to swing a piece of wood that weighs 33 ounces, get it through the zone, and make contact. I would say he was about 0.2 of a second late. Rasmus, when we come back.
is brought to you by Bud Light. The sure sign of a good time. Here we go. By Bank of America, where ATM deposits are as easy as an infield fly. No deposit slip, no envelope with Bank of America, member FDIC. And by AT&T. Figure Collins faces one more hitter, and that's Rasmus, and then they'll go to their bullpen with Pujols and Holiday coming up. You're talking about the decisions of a manager and what may happen. Also, maybe in the back of Ned Yost's mind is that if you get to Berkman, do you want him to turn around and bat right-handed? That's smoked into right. Extra bases here for Colby Rasmus. No, he'll stop it first. Francoeur, that gun in right field, holds Rasmus to a single. That could be big.
And I think Dave McKay may have kind of saved Colby from getting thrown out at second base. This ball was crushed to right field. Colby runs very well, but you're not going to find a right fielder with a better arm than Francoeur, who gets to the ball right away and then just unloads. Dave McKay, as Rasmus was rounding first base, tells him, you're not going to make it. Slow down. There's Rasmus, takes the turn, and he's telling him no, no, no. And Rasmus holds at first base. I think it was a good move.
Pitching change coming up. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Tenth round selection of 2007. Greg Holland making his 11th appearance, and a big one here for Kansas City.
Yeah, and he has a very difficult assignment. He's coming on to face Pujols and then Holiday, and then Berkman. 1, 2, 3, really as tough as it gets. And you get back to that conversation, Dan, that you brought up a couple of weeks ago. Is this the time to bring in your closer and say game's on the line right here? Rasmus is led off with a base hit.
Well, Rick and I were debating during the break, should Colby have gone to second and test Francoeur?
Francoeur has the ball when he's rounding first base. He makes a decision not to go pretty early. That ball thrown offline just a tad. We guess, Dan, from our vantage point, that he'd have had an 80% chance of being safe or so, but it might not be worth it.
Colby is running, ground ball to short, and safe at second. So by starting the runner, they avoid the double play. So it does go 6-4-3, but not a double play.
Yeah, it's the thing you worry about with Albert. He's hit into a lot of double plays. So Tony's starting the runner, Rasmus. That's a gutsy move right there. Colby gets a good jump and beats the throw to the bag, and also tries to disrupt the throw to first. And now he's in scoring position where we had hoped he would be initially.
So one out. First base open. Berkman on deck. Holiday at the plate. Runner at second. talked about the Cardinals trying to win late. 113 team RBIs in the 7th inning or later. Tops in the National League for St. Louis and behind only Boston in all of Major League Baseball.
First base is open.
Holiday in the air to center field. At the track, at the wall, goodbye. Two-run shot, Matt Holiday. Holiday came out for the curtain call. First pitch to Berkman, taken for a ball. It's 5-4. Nissan drive of the game, no doubt about it. Holiday to dead center field.
Crushes this ball. We talked about how much fun it is to watch a Holiday at bat. People staying around for those at bats. I think a lot of the crowd got their money's worth with that swing of the bat.
.422 feet distance of that home run. Much needed. Now with that, Fernando Salas gets up, starts to throw. He took the loss against Washington his last time out.
Give Colby Rasmus credit for having a nice at bat against a tough left-hander to start this inning.
Good point. And the fact that they ran Colby with Pujols up, you don't normally see that. Avoided the double play. Turned out to be big. You see, he was safe at second.
I think it's the Sox, frankly.
You got to change it somehow.
Bob Force used to say when things weren't going well, he used to say, we just got to do something, even if it's wrong. Do something different.
Some of the guys had lines in their head. Take a little, a razor, do a couple lines in the head.
I'm not doing that.
Hey, I'm not saying it's the right or wrong thing to do, but they did it. Changed their luck. 7, 8, and 9 coming up for Kansas City. 0-2 here on Yadier Molina. Matt Holiday, his 8th home run. On base 3 times tonight. The 2 RBIs now up to 35. Swing and a miss by Molina, but a jolt off the bat of Matt Holiday. 5-4. Salas coming in.
Cardinals lead at 5-4 as we go to the 9th at Busch Stadium. Coming up after the game on the post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live, Pat Paris and Al Roboski will be at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill at Lumiere Place. How about Matt Holliday's No Doubter? They'll re-rack the highlights. Ryan Terrio's big return, and of course, Tony TV. That and more after the game. Matt Holliday bringing this crowd to life. And we go back to the booth, and Dan and Rick, guys.
All right, Jim, good job as always. And this crowd, big one tonight, 43,102, 43,102. Salas is into the ball game. This is Chris Getz. Seen his speed on display last night and again today. Westbrook is off the hook. Good work by the bullpen. And Salas make it stick. His numbers very impressive so far. Only one blown save.
And that was against the Washington Nationals. That was a game that we had a sense the Cardinals could not win. Even though they battled in that game, they just were struggling so much as a team. And you get the feeling that things may be turning a bit here for the Cardinals. 30-4 when leading after the 8th inning. And this man, Fernando Salas, has a lot to do with that.
A 1-1. Make it 1-2.
He does not impress me, Dan, as the type pitcher that's going to take one outing to the next outing in terms of his personality. Seems very confident and poised.
We saw that as he did take his stuff from one inning to the next. It wasn't quite the same in Washington. Cardinals extended him in that game 2 innings. Popped up left side. Playable. Terrio backing up and makes the catch. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Meanwhile, on the other side, reverse it, 4-30 record this season when trailing after 8 for the Kansas City Royals. Billy Butler is moved to the on-deck circle. This is Escobar, and he takes a ball outside. Escobar tripled, scored 2 back in the 2nd, singled, stole a base in the 4th, and also grounded out back to Westbrook in the 7th inning.
Important to keep the speed off the bases. Royals run well. They can make things happen quickly. Leadoff hits really matter late in games. That's why Rasmus, with his single off of that very tough left-hander, I think, I'm not going to say more important than Holliday's home run, but extremely important to set the table for what Matt Holliday was able to do 2 batters later.
A 2-1 pitch to Escobar. Out of play. 2-2.
Going to have to hit that changeup here.
Let's see what Molina and Salas come up with here on 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Fastball away.
And Escobar hits it that way. A fly ball into right. John Jay under it. He's got it. 2 away. Let's turn to our Budweiser player of the game. Matt Holliday, 2 for 3 with a 2-run homer, a double, and an intentional walk. And 40,102 on their feet here at Busch. Ball 1 to Billy Butler. One 1-0 pitch to Butler. 2 balls, no strikes. Alex Gordon on deck. Gordon has homered tonight. Can't give in to Billy Butler. He's got some power with 6 home runs and 31 RBIs, and normally the designated hitter for Kansas City.
And pinch hitting would feel a lot like DHing.
Good point. 2-1. Butler didn't like the call. Two and two. One strike away. 2-2 pitch. He got him. Salas picks up the save, and the losing skid is over. Oh, did the Cardinals need that?
Oh, they sure did. Plenty of heroes to go around. Matt Holliday had the big hit. Colby Rasmus also contributed. And the Redbirds found a way to win a ball game. Salas closes it out. He's back on track. All kinds of good feelings here at Busch Stadium.
Fun ball game here this evening. Game 2 at Busch Stadium. Albert Pujols early on back in the 3rd inning with a double off the wall that would score Skip Schumacher. Always nice to see that sweet swing. Ryan Theriot showing off the leather early on as well. A complete team effort late in this game. Matt Holliday rushes that home run. His 8th of the season. It's a game winner. Salas hand